Night is very important scenario for our company, right? We have done as a direction for night mode, whether it's photo or video, for a long time.
If we would build on our own smartphone camera, it would be the worst smartphone camera ever.
Why is the selfie camera not shooting in 4K? What's the problem out there? I mean... Hello all, welcome to yet another episode of our podcast. I know it's been a while, but I have Keshav once again. Thank you, Keshav. How's it going?
Oh, all good. Very hectic, but very excited for the new phone.
That is true. Keshav, for the sake of the audience, once again, could you introduce yourself? What do you do at Vivo?
Hi, I'm Keshav. I'm the product manager for camera effects at Vivo.
Yes, he's the guy who tunes all the things, all the cool stuff that you see that's happening with the X series, the V series, everything that comes to India. And I, for the first time, also have Oliver. Hi, Oliver. It's great to have you here. Oliver, do tell us about what you do at Zeiss. I know you're wearing the Zeiss t-shirt as well. That's pretty descriptive, but please.
Well, I'm Oliver. I'm working at the mobile imaging team at Carl Zeiss in our headquarters in Oberkochen, Germany. And it's a pleasure for me being here and being your guest in this round.
It's a pleasure to actually have you. I'll start off directly by jumping into the X90. My question is very specific with respect to the X90 Pro. There are certain changes that, with the X90 Pro that you've had to make to bring in that big 1-inch sensor. For example, the X90 series entirely doesn't have the gimbal camera now, which obviously was a huge aspect of the X series up until now. Why is that so?
Specifically, 1-inch sensor itself is very big, and it also needs a considerably bigger lens module on top of it. So to stabilize that with a gimbal is not feasible, because then you have too big a camera module and the phone becomes too thick. So it's a ID decision. As well as now we have an OIS that is much better than the industry. So we also have a CIPA level 4 rating on the OIS, which is almost twice as better than the other OISs on the market. So what we want to do is basically how to find the right balance for the user. So the ultimate output is what we want. So if we can get an output with better light, better optics, and the OIS that we are using, so the ultimate output is there.
Right.
So that is why we decided to go with the OIS solution this time.
Correct. But you mentioned CIPA level 4. Just could you elaborate a little bit more on that? What exactly is that?
It's an organization based in Japan.
Right.
So what they are doing is basically rating the levels of professional camera lenses on the stabilization and some other factors as well. So we got the OIS on our camera certified by them to clear level 4 of their testing.
That's the best in the industry right now?
Yeah.
Better than any other phone that's in the market?
In OIS, yes.
Okay, so that's news to me as well, and of course news to the audience too. I mean, Keshav mentioned optics, and obviously Zeiss plays a huge role when it comes to optics for, you've been making these things with the X series for a long time now. Now, I want to understand, Oliver, when you're talking about Zeiss and the level of collaboration that you've had, in your capacity, you've worked with other brands as well. But, working with Vivo, how is it different? And what does it take for a traditionally lens company to work with a smartphone camera and to build that? What is the kind of level of involvement that is there?
Frankly speaking, it's a long development process, a learning process also for us. We are active in the optical industry since 130 and something years, real experts in building lenses, lens elements, and these optical systems. We had to learn that it does not make sense just to focus on the lens in a smartphone camera system, because you have to have a holistic view on everything, on the lens, on the sensor, on the image processing, and last but not least also on the display, how to watch the images you have taken. And you have to look through everything. It's somehow wasted money if you spend all efforts, for example, just on the optics.
Right.
If it doesn't fit to the sensor, if it doesn't fit to the algorithms. And also you need to make the right trade-offs. You can do many things very good on software side, which is in mass production very cheap. Or you can miniaturize an optic if you can compensate, for example, distortion by the software. Knowing about all these dependencies is important to make the right trade-offs at the right side. And that is what we learned together with Vivo.
Correct. So let me drill that down further to the X90 series specifically. What's new in the lens? Like I know that there are 7 plastic lenses and 1 glass lens as well. And like you mentioned, display, right? The Zeiss natural color mode extends to the display as well. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that, Oliver, please?
Yeah. So in the lens of the X90 Pro, we introduced also a glass lens element because it has some benefits here in this use case. The dispersion is much lower compared to the plastic lens elements.
Right.
Mobile phones, usually you use plastic elements because they have several benefits and that make the plastic lens elements very valuable for this kind of cameras.
Okay.
It wouldn't make sense to make all the lens elements out of glass.
Out of glass, okay.
It would be incredibly expensive to do that. It would be extremely challenging to make these very weird, complex shapes of the lenses out of glass.
Okay.
And again, it's the trade-offs. By deciding having one glass element and taking all the benefits of that element and combining it with the benefits of the plastic lens element, that is the key to have a best performing lens for this camera.
For this camera specifically.
And now we have like the T-star coating, like what Zeiss is so popular for. Now we have it on 7 elements. Like earlier
the
we
T-star
had
extends across to all the 7 elements.
7 elements, yes. So it's before we had it on two elements.
We invented anti-reflective coatings in the 1930s of the last century, and at that time T-star was created as a brand for these anti-reflective coatings.
Okay.
But nowadays T-star is much more than just a specific anti-reflective coating. It's a complete system, starting with the cover glass and ending with the IRCF filter on the sensor side, and also the mechanical components that might reflect light.
Yes.
All together leads to the T-star certification. And you're right, we are applying now on the X90 Pro on 7 lens element a so-called ASC coating. That is the very latest nano-grade coating technology for lenses that gives a huge improvement compared to the lens. The coatings we applied on the previous lenses.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that the other ones were not T-star, but T-star is a seal of quality. That raises the bar by every generation.
So which means that if the end consumer is taking pictures with the Vivo X90 series and of course with T-star coating, they can expect far less refractions and reflections happening in their pictures and the light reflections happening as well.
It's an amazing difference. If you look to the predecessor, to the X90 Pro, these ALC coatings on all lenses make a huge difference.
Like you mentioned, it's a huge difference, but how does the end consumer get to know that? How can they test this out? Say, for example, if I have the X90 series.
That is always a challenge with anti-reflective coatings to see the difference, because you see, if it's really good, you see nothing. That's the key.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. If it's really good, you see. It's tech that's invisible.
Yeah, if it's invisible, it's best.
Yeah.
And I've also, before I've been working for the camera lens division, I've working for the eyeglass division of Zeiss.
Right.
And here we have also the problem, or the challenge, I would say. We have anti-reflective coatings on eyeglasses.
That's right.
And the best would be if this coating is almost invisible.
Right.
But for the customers, you need a color. They need to see
the blue color. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Until unless they don't see that, they don't trust that there's a coating on it.
And I've heard from so many people, oh, look, I have a very good coating on it. You see the blue reflex or the purple reflex. And then I have to teach them, the less reflex you see, the better it is.
Yeah.
You've obviously also worked on bigger cameras, right? I mean, the DSLRs. How difficult is to do this in a miniature setup? Like, do you have to spend far more time on R&D? Or does the implementation become easier because you worked on bigger cameras? I think it's a slightly deeper question.
It might be surprising when I say now to create those bigger lenses is much easier. When I started at the camera lens division, I was involved I was project manager for the development of a new set of lenses for SLR cameras.
Okay.
And the development target was very clear from our management. It should be the best lens series for SLR lenses in the world. That was the requirement, I would say. And I had all the freedom to do. I had a huge budget, time. Size didn't matter, and the weight.
Yes.
Everything was more or less free.
Yes.
And with our background of all the technology we know and manufacturing technologies, it's a simple task to do that.
Right,
Yeah.
it's a simple task.
For us. But with a smartphone camera is a pain.
Yeah, you have like what few where you have to put
Keshav's
so
like,
many lenses.
oh my God, this is.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
Keshav,
actually, this
could
is
you build on that,
where.
please? Yes.
So this is where our collaboration comes in. So they have like legacy in lens development, right? And then we have like our expertise is making smartphones.
Right.
So our conversations with Zeiss are mostly into how do we fit 7 lenses or 8 lens elements in that particular size where it can be so thin and on top of a 1-inch sensor.
On top of a 1-inch sensor, which is bigger.
Yeah, and then we have the industry largest aperture on that 1-inch sensor, right?
By 1.6. Yes.
Yeah, so 1.75 on the 1-inch, 1.6 on the 50 mm.
50 mm, yes.
So we have to get into the conversations with them, and like he said, like developing smartphone hardware is because the size is so small, so it's really tough, and that's where their expertise really like comes to light, and it helps us create the best hardware.
Yeah, and sometimes in this development process of the devices, we have conflicts.
I just wanted to get to that because I'm pretty certain, how do you, the cultures are completely different. You're working with China, you're based out of, Germany. How do you guys talk? It could be really difficult, right?
Frankly speaking, it's fun.
I'm sure.
So, first of all, it's really great to work together with colleagues at Vivo. We have a really similar mindset. We have the target, photography first, imaging first, and that is
common goal.
The common goal of both sides. And we are coming from two different sides. The experts from smartphones, the experts from cameras and lenses. If we would build on our own smartphone camera, it would be the worst smartphone camera ever.
So here you have it on camera, where Zeiss is saying if they were to build their own smartphone camera, it would probably be the worst. And that's where Vivo's expertise comes in, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Right. They know exactly the boundary conditions, what needs to be fulfilled for a smartphone. Right. Let's talk about the 1-inch main camera. Yeah. You see, it's quite big. But if you would ask our optical designers, they would say, give us 1 more millimeter of thickness to get better image quality. And naturally, the guys on Vivo side say, no, this is the absolute minimum.
Yeah.
And then we need to fight. No, we cannot accept this minimum. We need to find the right trade-off. And this creative fight will lead to the best possible solution.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's a long learning process, and also on our side, how to deal with partners like this. And when we started, we were very much focused on the lenses, and nowadays we are looking to the complete system.
System, yes.
Yeah.
And that makes a...
In fact, I did talk about the display bit, right?
Exactly, and that is one part of looking to the complete system. Right. This is about Zeiss Natural Color that we introduced in earlier devices, where we started capturing the best natural color with the main camera. And then we saw we need to expand it to all cameras, because when you're switching between the cameras, you should get the same colors. That is not normal. That is not the standard in the industry.
It's not. That's true.
Yeah.
To maintain the color science across lenses.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, does it help if you capture the natural color if you don't see the natural color?
Yeah.
Because here again, the expertise from smartphone companies, and now we have similar expertise. Meanwhile, I would say, we know that 99% or even more of the images are watched on the screen of on the phone. Who has a calibrated monitor at home to watch
This is a very good point that you make, Oliver, because we constantly do a lot of camera comparison testing between smartphone cameras. And whenever I shoot these pictures, I have like a massive folder, all set, organized systematically. But then I'll transfer everything to my color calibrated monitor, and then sort of like, check them side by side, because obviously I can't trust smartphone displays to be able to do that for me. If I have one phone's display, the next phone's display, it's not going to look similar, right? But with, of course, getting Zeiss natural color implemented at the display level. For the audience, by the way, the X90 Pro series actually has Zeiss natural color on the display, which means that the pictures that you're taking, you'll see the exact color on the display as well. This is something that Vivo has been doing with displays as well, because professional display, professionally
So
used.
we have different calibrations for different requirements. So we have like a standard, and we have like a professional display, and we also have like a vibrant one. So it depends on what the user wants. But the Zeiss natural color is another level of calibration. So
what most users do not know, that the color of the displays, of the individual displays of the same series, it varies. It's not always the same. If you have two
there is a
devices,
variation.
There is a variation that happens.
And for the first time, we calibrated every individual display. The display on this phone is calibrated
precisely
in
the
a different
same,
way, like yours, to display the same color. So simply speaking, you have a calibrated monitor here.
You have a calibrated monitor to see the right color of the photos that you're taking, which is very important, I feel. I mean, that is something that I keep telling the audience as well, because obviously user preferences could be, okay, fine, they want, bright, colorful looking pictures that they can put it up on social media directly. But then again, I mean, when you're looking at when you get the natural color, you can tune that later in edit as well to make it look better too, right?
It's an option.
It's an option.
I think that is a very important thing, to offer options to the...
Very important. I genuinely feel, I mean, most smartphone cameras should give options to the user, because there are different kinds of users out there. And that, I think, of course, Vivo has been doing that very well, and now extending that. Now let's talk about the V2. And I really do want to talk about it. I think that's something that you're very passionate about as well. The V2 is a specific chip that, of course, Vivo makes, which is separate from the ISP. And it has been improved this time. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
So basically, V2 is our own chipset that we develop. It's an image processing chipset, not only for imaging, also helps in gaming as well. So
frame interpolation. Right?
Yeah. So now we have improved the overall efficiency. Now we get like 16.3 tops. So it's like per watt. Yeah. So that is the AI efficiency. We are able to like take up like 1.3 trillion bits per second of processing power. This chipset helps us.
Is this the best across the industry? I mean,
yes, we are able to run a lot of algorithms, whether they are ISP algorithms and AI algorithms, and now we have the SRAM on system, on our chip as well. So because of that, the DLA, we are able to do the acceleration very quickly, the scheduling is very good. We are able to do much more with the image that we are capturing. And when we are including that with a large sensor and a large lens module, the amount of details that we have to play with for computation is insane, is like really good.
That is true.
And
how do you extend that into modes? There are a lot of things that you do with Zeiss as well, specifically with respect to the portrait mode and all of that. And then you have this new filter,
Cineflare. So Cineflare,
what does that do?
Oliver can explain that in detail, but in simple is that we wanted to give the legendary Zeiss Hollywood cine lenses. They have this very certain kind of flares, right? And we wanted to give that option in our portrait camera. And to build that is not an easy thing, and like, of course, we cannot do it without the experts of the industry, and they have done so much of Hollywood work and Bollywood work as well. So we wanted to give that, and that's like Zeiss and ours, the portrait partnership is where we really started. Like the portrait simulations for like Biotar, Sonar, Distagun that we have done before. And in terms of V2, how is it helping us is, like, for example, we have our night mode. So night is our very important scenario for our company, right? Night we have done as a direction for night mode, whether it's photo or video, for a long time. So we are able to run the night algorithms at a better efficiency, at a better performance rate, and we are able to extract more details. We are able to do handheld astrophotography. Like doing that is really tough.
I can't try that out in India.
There are certain places. There are certain places you can definitely go.
Yeah.
So you need to travel to the mountains.
It's a lot of
probably.
effort.
Yeah.
But I think we should make a plan sometime. But, it's an interesting point that you make about, it's an irony that you bring up right now. You're also trying to cut the reflection at the same time. You're also adding it.
Yes.
It's funny, but please, Oliver, could you expand on the new lens flare effect, please?
So we were just talking about T-star, reducing the reflections and the flares, and now we are introducing the cine flares, which is exactly the opposite.
Opposite.
Yes.
In cinematography, as Keshav explained, the DOPs, they love these flares and integrate it to integrate it in the movies. There, we created special lenses that produce these flares in a controlled way. In the past, when we were fighting with T-star, these flares were unwanted and uncontrolled.
Okay.
But now we create them in a very special way that they have a certain look that we want to have.
Right.
The question is, do you want to have these kind of flares always in your image?
No.
In cinematography, you just switch the lens back to a lens that is perfect with T-star and everything and looks nice, then no problem. But in a smartphone, you have to decide either to fight the flares or to have some flares there. If you make it in hardware, in optics. But we decided with T-star to have the best flare removal. And if you want that cinematic flare, this artistic flare on purpose, we developed this algorithm to apply it to the image by software.
And it's a smart software. Like the algorithm, like he mentioned, is an AI. It detects what's the scene, how much light, what's the light source, and based on that, how big the flare has to be, how strong the flare has to be. So it's like not just an overlay, but it's actually a very smart system.
We are detecting the inducing light in the background, which should induce the flare and the light temperature, the scenery, and then
Quite a few factors come
Yes.
into play.
Yeah.
And this altogether decides how these cinematic flares will look like in the image.
This is the final question. But Keshav, I just want to ask you a very direct question. And this is something that has been not just bugging me, but bugging a lot of the users as well. And they keep constantly asking me, why is the selfie camera not shooting in 4K? What's the problem out there? I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I understand that a lot of the front camera videos don't require 4K or social media doesn't. But people seem to be wanting that and they're mentioning that. What is this reason behind?
First of all, is something to do with the sensor. So with the 32 MP sensor, you can get about an 8 MP output, right? So it's a 1x4 Bayer binning sensor. So if we add the 4K, we have no flexibility to have EIS or stabilization in the video. So if we want to run, algorithms like steady phase and HD and improve the the frame rate of the front camera video on this particular sensor, we have to max it at 1080-60 for now.
But that's good 1080.
Yeah, that's good 1080-60. And of course, like if you see Instagram Reels, YouTube, and all the other apps, the ideal uploading resolution is 1080p. If you upload to them in 4K, they will downsample and they will compress your videos anyway. So
you're going to lose out on quality anyway, so might as well do it at 1080.
So yeah, so when you do at 1080, you are anyway getting the sharpest video possible, and the frame rate also is that
matched.
way. Yeah.
Fair enough. That makes sense. I don't know if the users. Please, Oliver.
If I listen to your question, I have to smile because if I remember correctly, the first front cam is from 2003, exactly 20 years ago.
Yes.
Such a short time frame. You are complaining why it doesn't have 4K. 20 years ago, the requirement for such a camera was just being there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is true. That's the pace at which technology moves, unfortunately, Oliver. We're just
20 years.
I keep getting reminded of that Louis C.K. stand-up. I don't know if you guys have seen it, where I keep mentioning this to my audience as well, where he's inside the flight and somebody was screaming about the Wi-Fi speed inside the flight, and he's like, "It's in the flight. It's available. Stop cribbing about it." Right? I understand that, but unfortunately, we are a very tech-heavy channel, and we're very tech-focused and forward. So, which is why I'm asking the question. Nothing more than that. But yeah, I get your point. It's 20 years ago.
But we must challenge the technicians and
we are trying to make this better, and we have this feedback, so we are working on it, trying to use the best hardware and best software in future generations.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Keshav. Thank you so much, Oliver, for your time. I think this was a great discussion, and I hope you guys enjoyed the time.
It was great fun. Second time.
Second time
so
around.
Hopefully do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Oliver, for being for the first time on Trakin Tech English. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me, and like Keshav said, it's pure fun for me.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any specific questions, why don't you put them down in the comment section below? So what we'll do is we'll try to answer them as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.